I used to believe being a good man would save me. I listened. I helped. I stayed quiet when something felt wrong. I avoided conflict, avoided disappointing people, avoided becoming that guy. The selfish one. The aggressive one. The problem. Everyone said I was easy to work with, reliable, kind. And slowly, almost invisibly, my life stopped moving forward. At first it didn't feel like failure. It felt responsible, mature, safe. I told myself I was playing the long game. That patience would pay off. That being respected mattered more than being ahead. What I didn't realize was that respect without boundaries is just convenience. People didn't value me. They used me. I was the guy who stayed late. The guy who said yes when others said no. The guy who picked up the slack without asking questions. I thought that made me indispensable. It didn't. It made me invisible. The promotions went to louder people. The opportunities went to those who demanded them. The money went to people who were comfortable making others uncomfortable. Meanwhile, I was praised and passed over. Thank you for understanding. You're such a team player. We'll remember this. They never did. I watched people with less skill, less discipline, and less integrity move past me. And instead of getting angry, I blamed myself quietly. I thought I just needed to be better. More patient. More helpful. That mindset nearly destroyed me. Being a good man became my excuse to avoid hard decisions. I avoided asking for more money because I didn't want to seem greedy. I avoided confrontation because I didn't want to be disliked. I avoided ambition because I didn't want to appear arrogant. And every avoidance cost me something real. Time. Energy. Self-respect. I didn't notice it happening because it happened slowly. That's how traps work. They don't snap shut immediately. They let you get comfortable first. The breaking point didn't come with drama. It came with exhaustion. One night, after another long day of solving other people's problems, I sat alone and realized something that hit harder than any failure. No one was coming to reward me for being good. There was no scoreboard for sacrifice. No prize for patience. No moment where someone would say, "You've suffered enough. Here's your turn." That realization hurt more than being broke ever did, because it meant I had been lying to myself. I had confused morality with strategy. Being a good person is not a life plan. It's a character trait. And when you turn it into a strategy, you get crushed by people who understand the game better than you do. I started paying attention to the men who were winning. Not the loud ones online. The real ones. The quiet operators. They weren't cruel. But they weren't soft either. They said no without apologizing. They asked for what they wanted without explaining themselves. They walked away from bad deals even if it disappointed others. And they didn't feel guilty about it. That guilt, that constant internal negotiation, was something I carried every day. It slowed every decision. It diluted every ambition. I realized I wasn't afraid of failure. I was afraid of being seen as the bad guy. That fear controlled everything. So I stayed agreeable, predictable, harmless. And the world treated me exactly as I presented myself. Harmless men don't lead. Harmless men don't earn leverage. Harmless men don't get taken seriously when things matter. That truth was uncomfortable, but it was real. The moment I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I looked back at years of my life and saw how often I had chosen peace over progress, approval over growth, comfort over respect. I told myself I was being mature. But maturity without self-respect is just submission in a nicer outfit. The hardest part wasn't realizing I had been wrong. It was realizing how long I had defended being wrong. I had built my identity around being the good one, the reasonable one, the guy who never caused problems. Letting go of that identity felt like stepping off a cliff. Because if I wasn't the good man anymore, who was I? And what would it cost me to change? That question terrified me. But what terrified me more was staying exactly the same. Because deep down, I knew this simple truth. Being good had made me small. And if I didn't change, I wouldn't just fail quietly. I would disappear. The change didn't start with confidence. It started with resentment. Quiet, controlled resentment that had nowhere to go. I was tired of being praised and ignored at the same time. Tired of being needed but never chosen. Tired of explaining myself to people who never explained anything to me. The first time I said no, my voice didn't sound strong. It sounded unfamiliar. Someone asked me to take on extra work. No compensation. No recognition. Just expectation. Normally, I would have agreed automatically. I was already preparing the excuse in my head. It's fine, I can handle it, it won't take long. This time I paused. And that pause felt dangerous. I can't, I said. No explanation. No apology. The silence that followed was heavy. Not angry, confused. Like I had broken a rule no one had ever written down. They looked at me differently after that. Not worse. Just alert. That's when I understood something important. People don't respect kindness. They respect boundaries. And boundaries make people uncomfortable. Word spreads fast when you stop being convenient. I noticed subtle changes immediately. Fewer favors asked. Less friendliness. Conversations became shorter, colder. It hurt more than I expected. Part of me wanted to fix it. To smooth things over. To explain that I was still the same person. That I was still good. But I didn't. I stayed quiet. That silence was the hardest discipline I had ever practiced. The next test came quickly. A meeting. A decision that affected my future. Normally, I would have accepted whatever was offered. Instead, I spoke up. I said what I wanted. I said what I wouldn't accept. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't justify myself. The room changed. Not everyone liked it. One person smiled politely and dismissed my concerns. Another questioned my commitment. Someone else hinted that I was being difficult. And for the first time in my life, I didn't retreat. I felt my heart racing. My hands were steady, but my chest burned. This wasn't confidence. This was exposure. I realized something in that moment. Being nice had protected me from conflict, but it had also protected everyone else from respecting me. Conflict was the price of visibility. That day didn't end with a win. No promotion. No applause. In fact, I lost something. I lost access. Suddenly, I wasn't included in certain conversations. Decisions happened without me. Opportunities that once came quietly stopped arriving. Old me would have panicked. I would have apologized. I would have adjusted myself back into acceptance. Instead, I watched. And what I saw shocked me. The people who distanced themselves weren't offended by my behavior. They were threatened by it. Because when you stop being predictable, people lose control. Control isn't always obvious. It's subtle. It lives in expectations, in habits, in unspoken roles. My role had been the stabilizer, the absorber, the one who made everyone else's life easier. By stepping out of that role, I disrupted the balance. And systems resist disruption. The loneliness hit hard. Lunches alone. Fewer messages. Less laughter. I questioned myself constantly. Was I becoming selfish? Was I overcorrecting? Was this really worth it? But something unexpected happened too. I slept better. For the first time in years, my mind was quiet at night. No replaying conversations. No rehearsing apologies. No regret over things I wished I had said. I started respecting myself. That respect was fragile at first. Easy to break. But it was real. Then came the real loss. Someone I had helped for years turned on me. Not aggressively, professionally. They framed me as not a team player. Someone who had changed. They weren't lying. I had changed. And that change cost me something tangible. A role. An opportunity. Income. That was the moment most people would go back. I almost did. Standing there, watching a door close that I had held open for others countless times, I felt stupid. Betrayed. Exposed. Being good would have protected me from this. But being good had never protected my future. I understood then why so many people stay agreeable their entire lives. Because the moment you stop, you pay a price. Immediately. No guarantees. No safety net. Just consequences. But I also saw something else. The people who lost interest in me weren't aligned with where I was going. They were aligned with who I used to be. And keeping them would have meant staying that person forever. That realization didn't make the pain disappear. But it gave it meaning. I stopped chasing approval entirely. I stopped explaining myself. I focused on leverage, skills, value, results that didn't require permission. And slowly something shifted. Not outwardly. Not yet. But internally, I was no longer negotiating with my fear. I was acting despite it. In the final part, I'll tell you what happened after the losses. When the approval was gone, the safety was gone, and all I had left was my standards. That's where real success began. When approval disappears, something strange happens. The noise stops. No more opinions to manage. No more emotions to predict. No more invisible contracts you never agreed to but were still expected to honor. Just you and your standards. At first, that emptiness feels like failure. You look around and think you've lost something important. Friends, status, safety, belonging. What you've really lost is friction. The friction that comes from living a life designed around other people's comfort. Once it was gone, I saw my life clearly for the first time. There was less movement but more direction. Fewer conversations but more truth. Less validation but more momentum. I stopped asking questions that began with, "Do you think?" I stopped seeking permission disguised as feedback. I made decisions alone. That scared me. But it also made me dangerous, in the best way. I focused on becoming useful instead of likable. On building skills instead of maintaining relationships that went nowhere. On results that spoke without explanation. Slowly people noticed. Not the ones who needed favors. Different people. People who respected boundaries. People who didn't confuse kindness with weakness. People who didn't need to dominate a room to feel important. They didn't praise me much. They didn't comfort me. But they listened. That was new. Respect feels different than approval. Approval is loud and fragile. Respect is quiet and stable. Approval disappears the moment you disappoint someone. Respect stays even when people disagree with you. I realized I had never truly experienced respect before, only tolerance. Being the good guy had earned me tolerance. As long as I stayed useful, agreeable, silent. Now I was respected, not universally but genuinely. And that respect changed how opportunities appeared. Not through favors. Through trust. People trusted that I would say no when something didn't make sense. Trusted that I wouldn't overpromise. Trusted that my word meant something because I didn't give it easily. My income changed because my value changed. My confidence changed because my behavior changed. Not overnight. Not dramatically. But permanently. I didn't become colder. I became clearer. I still help, but selectively. I still care, but without self-betrayal. I still listen, but I don't shrink. The irony is this: once I stopped trying to be good, I became better. Better decisions. Better relationships. Better outcomes. The people who left, they needed the old version of me. The people who stayed, they respected the new one. And the ones who arrived later never knew the version that begged for approval. That's how you know you've changed for real. Success didn't feel like victory. It felt like alignment. My actions finally matched my values. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Being a good man doesn't mean being harmless. It means being honest, even when honesty costs you. It means choosing long-term self-respect over short-term comfort. It means being willing to disappoint people who benefit from your silence. Most people never do that. They confuse peace with progress. They confuse kindness with surrender. And they wonder why their life never feels like it's truly theirs. I don't regret being good. I regret being afraid. Afraid to say no. Afraid to stand alone. Afraid to be misunderstood. The moment I let go of that fear, my life didn't become easier. It became real. And real beats comfortable every time.